Okay. Okay. So we're going to start at Exodus chapter 14 and verse 13. And immediately we're going to see some things. Yeah. And it reads, and Moses said unto the people, one second, sorry. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. All right, now right there in verse 13, there's something amazing right there. And it's almost right there in the beginning. He says, and Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. Where did she go? Keisha, I don't know if you remember, but one sidebar, this might have been like 3 or 4 months ago, might have been longer than that. When we talked about this, we actually started talking about this. And one of the jokes that we were making was like, somebody needs to make this into a t-shirt. But this is something very dope. Put yourselves in the perspective of the Egyptians. They've let the children of Israel go. The children of Israel have walked away. They've left Egypt. And now you are angry that the children of Israel have been let go. And your sole intentions are to chase them down, slaughter however many of them, and bring them back into captivity. You see the children of Israel standing somewhere. Matter of fact, you see them walking away as you're chasing them down. You see them walking away. And then all of a sudden, they stop. All of them, all 1+ million of them. I've even seen the number as high as 2.6 million Israelites in total. So we're talking about 1 million+ people. They stop. They see you coming. They know what your intentions are, but they don't run. They don't flee. They don't even, some of them may look scared, but they don't do what people would normally do in a situation where they're scared. The flight or fight doesn't kick in, right? They don't look like they're about to run. They don't, you know what I mean? They see you coming, but they aren't scared. They aren't terrified, even though they know what your intentions are. They know what you want to do. But instead, what they do is they stop, they stand still, and they prepare themselves to watch something happen. They don't know what's going to happen. They're just watching to see what is about to happen. Now, as the Egyptian, if I'm in my right mind, I'm not going to chase them too much further than that because they know what we coming to do. But yet and still, they still don't run. They aren't afraid, not at all. Aside from the fact that we are chasing them through the Red Sea. And I can see these two giant walls of water on either side of me. We're going to ignore that fact for right now, even though that's a huge elephant in the room to ignore. We're going to ignore that fact. But they see us coming, men of war, and they aren't afraid. The Most High says to them, fear ye not, so don't be afraid. Stand still and watch me work. There's a saying that we say all the time. I'm just going to let go and let God do it. How difficult is that to do? A lot of us don't understand how difficult and how hard that is to just let go and let Jesus take the wheel. I'm done. That is very hard to do in our carnal bodies because we want to be in control. We want to know what the outcome is going to be. I know that if I do this, the outcome will be XYZ. But if we put ourselves in it, then it's no longer the Most High doing it. It's us doing it. Something Yaakov says, and he says it to me quite, what did I just do? He says it to me quite often. God don't bless your mess. The Most High don't bless your mess. So if you put yourself in a situation and then you want the Most High to come deal with it, come get you out, it ain't ever going to work out the way you want it to because it's not what he put you there for. Prime example, Jonah. That whole mess, that's Jonah's fault. And then, but Jonah didn't even expect the Most High to bless him out of it. He told those guys on the ship, I know what the problem is. I know why we going through all this. Cast me overboard and everything will be better. He didn't say, I'm going to pray to my God. I'm going to tell him I'm sorry. And he's going to fix this. He said, no, throw me overboard in this stormy water. I'm probably going to die, but it'll be better for you. That's what happened. The Most High does not bless our mess. He does not deal with it that way. If he tells you to do something, you need to do just that. Because when you mess it up, he's not going to just be like, come on, let me fix it. Let me clean it up. No, you're going to get a whooping first. You're not going to like it. And then he'll fix it. But it has to be on his terms. So right here, the Most High is saying, don't be afraid. Be still. Watch me work. The children of Israel as a whole, they see this army riding down on them, chariots and horsemen and swordsmen and all of this. They see that coming. But God is like, no, don't run. Stop. Be still. Watch me work. That is something very powerful. And even, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Knowing what I know in the scriptures, seeing the things that I've seen in my life, it is still difficult for Kelly, for Nehemiah, to stop sometimes and just be like, you know what? I know this looks like an army coming at me right now, but God can do it anyway. And not put my hands in it at all. To just sit there and just watch him do what he do. That is still very difficult to do. It's still very difficult to do. But here, the Most High is not telling just one person to do it, not two, not three, but there are millions of people at this point. At least 1 million people at the very minimum. If there's one person, there's a million people out there. But he's telling all of them, don't be afraid, be still, watch me work. And it's incredible because they do it. And he tells them why. He says in verse 14, the Lord shall fight for you and ye shall hold your peace. Does anybody know what that means? Hold your peace? Who knows what that means? Who think they can break that down, what it means to hold your peace?
Stop talking.
Not only just that, and I think I know what you mean, but I don't want to. What do you mean by stop talking?
It means you don't have to do anything at all. But watch me work.
Absolutely. You don't have to do nothing. But that hold your peace part, it's literal. Hold your peace, right? Because this chaos that is coming into your life right now, these Egyptians, they are coming to kill you. That's what they want to do. They are coming to kill you. And if they get close enough to you, they will do just that. They will do just that. That's exactly what their plans are. But he's saying, hold your peace. Not only do I want you to not be afraid, but you're going to be completely calm in this. Just like when Hamashiach was standing on the boat, when the wind and the waves was going crazy, and the disciples was like, Christ, what? Like, you don't care if we die? And he was in the belly of the ship, sleep, holding his peace. Dude, you know what kind of power I possess? What are you talking about? The wind and the waves are doing what? Hold on, watch me work. And he did just that. This is what the Most High is saying. Dude, look, why are you? Not only do I not want you to be afraid, but when you see them coming, don't even get yourself worked up. I see your hand, Elder. What is that?
So hold your peace. Then if you see the chaos coming, the peace that he has given you already, and you see the chaos, I need you to hold up right here until I deal with the chaos. Then resume your peace. That's why when it says, when the Talmudim went into a town and said, when you go in 2 by 2, you bid them shalom. the Torah, you give them the Torah, which is the instructions. So Moses already got the instructions. That's why he said what he said. So that's what we're talking about. Holding your peace, meaning you see the chaos coming in your life. Are you experiencing the chaos? Now I need you to stand still and let the Most High fight your battles.
Okay.
Yield the floor.
Okay. So that peace, that hold your peace, and Shabbat Shalom, Aliyahu and Mariyahu, I saw y'all just check in. That peace. Let's jump to, we're going to hold this in Exodus and jump to Philippians chapter 4 and verse 7. And this is one that we've seen, we've read and seen this scripture throughout church or all out. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 7. Matter of fact, we'll start at verse 6. Yeah. So we'll start at verse 6. So it says, be careful for nothing. And that word careful right there in verse 6 is, where is it? Down there. Anxious. That's be anxious for nothing. So don't worry about anything. So it says, be careful or be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. This is what that peace is that he's telling them to hold on to. This is the peace that Hamashiach exhibited in the belly of that ship when that storm was going crazy. It's a peace that passes all understanding. Like, dude, there's no way in the world I can stand here and be calm and not be anxious and not worry about this army bearing down on me with sole intentions to kill me and everything that I'm standing here with. Carnally, we don't understand that. You can't wrap your mind around that. That's like saying I am standing on top of a building that is falling down. And as long as gravity works, we are all headed to the ground at a high rate of speed. And this is going to be painful and none of us are going to make it. But yet and still, you got somebody standing up there just like, man, the sky looks really pretty from up here. Not worried, not one bit. You can't wrap your mind around that kind of peace. That's why he says a peace that passes all understanding. And right here, he's telling them, hold on to that peace. Don't get worked up. Don't you be excited for nothing. And he says in another part in verse 14, says that the Lord shall fight for you and ye shall hold your peace. The Lord shall fight for you. I want y'all to see something. Jump to Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 30. Aliyahu, y'all having trouble with your audio?
No, shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, sis.
Barely just finishing brunch.
Okay, because I saw he's actually messaging me. I thought y'all were having issues with your audio.
Nope.
he over there stuffing his face. I get it. And ain't nobody, they bring nobody a plate. Shameful. So Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 30. I want y'all to understand something about what the Most High said when he said that the Lord shall fight for you. So Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 30. Matter of fact, verse 29. We'll start at verse 29. Then I said unto you, dread not, neither be afraid of them. Same sentiment that we just saw in Exodus. Same sentiment that we saw in Philippians 4 and 7. Dread not, neither be afraid of them. The Lord your God, which goeth before you, he shall fight for you according to all that he did for you in Egypt before your eyes. Now, this is Moses making a reference to what happened in Egypt, what we're reading about in Exodus right now. So whenever they went up against another army or another nation, as long as we were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, as long as we were where we were supposed to be, this was our sentiment. Why was this our sentiment? Why was this the way we felt about it? What was it that gave us this kind of a surety when we went up against these other militaries, you could say, these other nations? Because matter of fact, no, we haven't even gotten there yet. We haven't even gotten there. So, yeah, what was it that gave us this kind of a surety?
The promises that he gave the Israelites.
Yes, it's the promises that he gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? He said, to give your seed a promised land where they can flourish, a land flowing with milk and honey. And it honestly, it's in our heritage. And I'm gonna show you this. Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 17. And I promise we're gonna start at verse 17, not 16. Isaiah 54, verse 17. This is something that was included in our heritage, in the promises that the Most High gave to us through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 17. And it reads, no weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, saith the Lord. So when you are, we know what righteousness is, right? Who can tell me what scripture that is, what righteousness is?
Is it Psalms 119?
No, that's Psalms 119. I'll give you a hint on what it says. It says, and it shall be our righteousness. This is one we go through. It's in the book of Deuteronomy.
Is it Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25?
Absolutely. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 25. It reads, and it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he hath commanded us. So that's what our righteousness is. And the Most High says that our righteousness is of him. And in that, you can't even talk bad about the children of Israel. If you say anything sideways to judge them, we get to condemn that. And it's a part of our heritage that he fights for us, because no weapon formed against us shall prosper. That's a fight, right? If anybody brings a weapon against you, whether that weapon be spiritual, whether it be carnal, if somebody tries to attack your emotions, your finances, whatever it is, it will not prosper, because that is our heritage, and that heritage goes into the promises. That's something that he gave us to our forefathers centuries ago that applies to us now. Why? Because the Most High's word does not come back to him void. He promised that to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. He promised it. Therefore, it has to come to pass. The only thing that can mess it up is if we aren't acting, or if we aren't acting in righteousness. If we aren't doing what he told us to do, if we are outside of his will, then he's not obligated to do those things for us. So when he says that he will fight for us, it's not just fight the Egyptians. It's not just fighting the Philistines. Or when you see us, when we go on that war path and we tear up through the Jebusites, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Canaanites. It's not just for them. It's forever. Whoever your Girgashite or Hittite or Jebusite is in your life right now, he is still just standing there waiting to fight that battle for you. But if you're not right, he's not going to fight. So let's go back to Exodus chapter 14. And let's go to verse 15. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod and stretch out thine hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, that I am Elohim, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. Two questions. What does it mean? No, I'm sorry. Where have we seen before that the Most High says that he's going to get honor upon Pharaoh? Second question, what does it mean? So we've seen it before where the Most High said, I will get honor upon Pharaoh. Where did we see that before? Huh? Sort of. Maisha said that it means respect or praise, meaning that Pharaoh is going to respect the Most High or he will praise the Most High. Depending on how you explain that, because Pharaoh is about to die here. He ain't gonna be doing too much respecting or praising.
When he first sent Moses, he told him that when he told him he was going to harden Pharaoh's heart so that he could get his honor upon Pharaoh. And he's going to use Pharaoh to spread the word. We're going to use it as an example of what he can do.
There you go. There you go. Kane, did you hear what she said? You guys, you understand what she was saying? So in the same chapter, verse 4, the Most High says, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart. And we know that the word heart here is lab, and it means mind. It's talking about his mind. He says, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord, that I am Elohim. And they did so. Now, when he says that he will be honored upon Pharaoh, he's saying that I'm going to make an example out of Pharaoh. And from this example that I make out of Pharaoh, all the other nations and all the world will know who I am. Because think about it. When he says, I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, what does Pharaoh and his host have in common that's about to happen to them? They are about to die. You're absolutely right. They are about to die. They are about to be killed. So in verse 17, he says, and I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, not just Pharaoh, all of the Egyptians that are chasing, and they shall follow them, and will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, upon his chariots and upon his horsemen. So that's his host. And again, they all have the same thing in common. They are about to be killed. So that's what the Most High is doing. He's going to get honor, not Pharaoh. Pharaoh himself is not going to honor the Most High. His hosts are not going to honor the Most High. They aren't going to respect him or praise him. They are about to die. But the respect and honor and reverence that the Most High is going to get from Pharaoh, from this situation, is going to be reflected throughout the whole world. Who remembers why it's going to expand across the whole world? You can't answer, Elder. King of what? Yes, because of the famine. Because of that famine, the 7 years of famine, 7 years of feast over plenty, Egypt was now in charge or was over the whole world. Remember, the people came and they sold, they bought grain unto Egypt until they didn't have any more money. Egypt had all the money. Then they sold their livestock. Then Egypt had all the livestock. Then they sold themselves to Egypt for grain, for bread. So Egypt literally owned the world. Elder, what were you about to say?
Absolutely. Just want to also say that Pharaoh did not die. He didn't go in the water. He was smart enough to stay up on the porch. And he was king somewhere else. So then even with that, he bared witness. And that's coming from a king.
Oh, wow.
And that's how the honor of the Most High, and if you look in, I think it's Romaim or Romans, when they were talking to Paul, and he said, yeah, you're one of those people that was doing in Egypt, blah, 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 blah. So he recognized Paul as a Hebrew, but like you say, a lot of times it's hearsay from the people that people, kind of talk about it. But then when a king comes back by himself with his horse and his chariot to say what happened, that held a lot of weight. I yield the floor.
Hey.
That's pretty much what honoring is. Like, when people go to my mom and say, well, yeah, your son is this and this and that. So then that's how the honor is, because somebody's going to my mom because of something I'm doing. So I yield the floor.
Cain, all praise to the Most High. So we see, we're actually going to see this pop up again later on in the Torah portion. You're going to see this and proof of the fame of the Most High going out to the other nations. So we'll see that when we get to it. So let's continue on verse 19. And the angel of the Most High, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. Verse 19. Did anybody see anything that jumped out just then?
Yes, the angel moves his position.
The angel moved his position. But what was it that was amazing about this angel?
He was a pillar of fire.
He was a pillar of fire by night and a pillar in a cloud by day. That is an angel. Why is that significant? Especially, and I'm not even going to give it away. Why is that significant that this angel was a pillar of fire at night and a cloud by day?
It was significant. It was significant because it put a division between the Israelites and the Egyptians.
Oh, he absolutely did a job. This angel did a job. He did put a difference between the Egyptians and the Israelites. He did become a physical barrier between. I'm just saying the angel did become a physical barrier between the Egyptians and the Israelites. Absolutely, to protect Israel from the Egyptians. But it's something that we actually went over the last time we did Q&A. When my mother-in-law brought up about the UFOs. You guys remember that when we went through the book of Ezekiel and we described the angels and what they did, the four beasts that moved and how they hovered and how they had the wheels in the middle of the wheels? I want y'all to see something. when you start and you look into the Hebrew, so like if we go into the Blue Letter Bible, let's do this real quick, and I'll bring it up for you guys. Okay, so I want you to see something. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, so here we are. This is Exodus chapter 14 and verse 19. And it reads, and the angel of God, or of the Most High, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar, right? It's this word, amud. And the pillar, column, upright, column of smoke. A column as standing, also a stand, i.e. platform, a piece, pillar, right? So this is a pillar. We see it down here. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's not gonna let me highlight it. But right here where my mouse is, the pillar of cloud, right? And then also the pillar of fire. So we see that this angel, and keep in mind what we read in Ezekiel, and we may have to go back to it, but this angel is a pillar of cloud. He's a pillar, right? And sorry, and here it is, of the cloud. It's this word, anon. So we got an upright, bless you, a vertical pillar of cloud. Cloud, cloudy, cloud mass of theophanic cloud. Now here we go. Anon, from H6049, a cloud as covering the sky, i.e. the nimbus or thunder cloud. Thunder cloud. Now, if you look up what a thunder cloud is, let me see if I can do this really quick. Thundercloud. You guys can see these images, right? Yes. Thunderclouds are usually very dark. These are nimbus clouds. You see cumulonimbus clouds. These are the ones where storms come from. So they're always very dark, and there's lightning that comes in them. These are the clouds that generate, well, in the storms, these are the clouds that generate lightning and thunder. So these are examples or pictures of thunderclouds, right? So it says that this is a thundercloud. Now I want you to get this image in your head. This is an upright pillar or a column of a thunder cloud, a dark cloud, right? And it's covering the sky, right? It's covering the sky. Now let's go back to it. What are we doing? Okay. So it's a thundercloud, a pillar of a dark cloud, and went from before their face and stood behind them, right? So just like Sister Cynthia said, it moved, and it went from in front of them, it went behind them. Now verse 20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud, same word, anon, and darkness. Remember the thunder cloud. This is where we get that. This is a dark pillar. It's a dark pillar that is shooting out, that has lightning in it. Now remember when we went over and we talked about Ezekiel and how he was describing things, and he's describing it in a manner so that the people of that time can understand it, so they know what he's talking about. So if he's trying to describe a skyscraper, what we know is a skyscraper right now, to the people of that time, he would say, it's a tall monument that has a bunch of eyes on it. If he's trying to describe the windows, he say it's reflective, it reflected the light of the sun or whatever, it has a bunch of eyes. That's a skyscraper, what we would know. So here it's the same thing. Moses is trying to describe something, to people who may have never seen this what it is. So what we are literally looking at and what they see here is a tornado. Have you guys ever seen a tornado? Oftentimes tornadoes, they bring other kind of weather with them. So like you'll see a dark cloud and it's a pillar and it's spinning. And oftentimes you'll see rain, there'll be hail, there'll be crap flying all over the place, but there's also lightning and thunder that comes in a tornado. So literally what Moses and the children of Israel are being led by and protected by is a tornado with lightning and with fire and everything else. Now remember what we were talking about, and I'm gonna show you how this all fits into those UFOs and to those aliens that we were talking about. Let me stop sharing my screen really quick. Stick with me. Where are we gonna go? Let's jump to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4 and verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 13. Behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as, what does it say right there? A whirlwind. A whirlwind of clouds, or a pillar of clouds. He says a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. What horses can fly? None. I know some people think Pegasus and unicorn. No, horses do not fly. So why is he making a comparison to a horse and an eagle in the book of Jeremiah? Again, he's explaining this in a manner that the people of that time can understand. The same way when Elijah was carried off, it says that his chariot, it was a horse-drawn chariot, and it was the horses were on fire, and they took off across the sky. This is what Jeremiah is trying to explain to the people of that time, because they know that a chariot is pulled by horses. So he's saying that these horses that are pulling this particular chariot are faster than eagles. They are swifter than eagles. They fly. He didn't go in and say these round cylindrical objects that are spinning through space are pulling this cloud, this whirlwind. He didn't say that. He said that these horses, because that's what they do, they pull and they move the Most High's throne. We read that in the book of Ezekiel, that the four beasts, they literally carry the Most High around, and they're spinning like a whirlwind. So these angels that Ezekiel described to us in the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel chapter 1, I think it was, these same angels that Ezekiel is describing us, that we consider now that we would call UFOs because we can't explain what that is. Moses and the children of Israel were being led around by one. I'm not saying it's the exact same angels, but maybe this is their mode of transportation. That's how angels move around. That's how they move. The Most High, his specific angels, the four that carry around his throne, that's what Ezekiel was describing. These angels that Moses saw right here, because he clearly says that it's an angel that's in a pillar of a cloud and a pillar of fire by night. This angel that he sees is moving around in the exact same way as the angels that Ezekiel described. So the children of Israel were being led around and protected by what we would call a UFO. But it's an angel. Just like when you see a tornado and it's those spinning clouds, when it spins fast enough and it gets enough velocity, it spins up a pillar of cloud well, it's usually like dust and dirt and cars and people and whatever else it can pick up. But it's a cloud. It's a pillar of a cloud. And it's upright and it's dark. Just like when he said in verse 20, and it's a thunder cloud, meaning lightning comes out of it. That's why they said it was lights and fire. All of that stuff comes in those clouds. You see those things in tornadoes. This right here blew my mind. This is what the children of Israel were being protected by, and this is how the Most High led them around. That's awesome. That is awe-inspiring. This is also why, now, notice who is here. The Egyptians. The Egyptians are here. They obviously see this pillar. And it still hasn't deterred them because the Most High hardened their hearts. Could it possibly be that the Egyptians have seen these before as well? Because it didn't deter them. They didn't run away from it. Logically, I already told you, if I see something and I need to run from it, I am running from it. If I see a pillar of fire and a whirlwind being whipped up by a chariot, I'm not running toward it. I don't care what it is I'm angry at. Especially if I've never seen this before. But the children of the Egyptians kept pursuing, even though it was right there. So you see, like you hear a lot now when people say in the walls and in the tombs, the Egyptians have pictures of these other beings and they have all these things. They must have had extraterrestrial influence in some of their things. It's possible that the Egyptians have seen these chariots before. It's possible. You guys see that? Ophanim. Aliyahu, can you go ahead and bring that out?
Shalom.
Shalom, please.
When you was reading the definition of cloud, I think it was, and it said theophanic.
Yes.
Theophanic. And what I was saying was in the English, it literally says a angel of Elohim, right?
Okay.
What I was saying is where that English phrase comes from out of this term cloud is theo is actually the Greek word for Elohim. So theo, and then orphanic or comes from orphanim, which is a type of angel. It's like, or malach. So you have seraphim, which are the fiery serpent-like angels. Then you have cherubim. Then you had the ophanim, and you had a few other classes. But this particular malach, I'm just showing you this, the word theophanic literally translates to angel of Elohim. That's what I'm just trying to point out.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, all praises. So absolutely. So there you go. This is an example of, and I don't want to call them UFOs, but this is an example of us seeing the angels operating, right? I know we've read, how Jacob said that he saw him going up and down the staircase and up and down the ladder. But here's another example of them coming down and actually doing stuff. So all this time we've seen that it was a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. We never understood that it was actually an angel doing that. And there's something else that you're going to see where the Most High says that he could see through that angel, through that pillar, he could see. And we'll when we get to it, we'll get there. We stopped at 20, right? Yes. So verse 21. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea. And Elohim caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. All right, verse 21. Who remembers the east wind? Who remembers what the east wind symbolizes?
Turmoil.
Destruction.
Turmoil and destruction. Yes, that's what that signifies, because we see that earlier on in Exodus 10 and verse 13. It was the east wind that brought the locusts, and the locusts, we know, destroyed all the rest of the crops that the hail had missed. So same thing, this east wind is bringing some form of destruction with it, and it is being used to split the Red Sea, and it blew all night. Verse 22, and the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, that Elohim looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians. Right there in verse 24, the Most High can see through this pillar of fire. So in some way, the Most High uses his angels as a camera to see through. Where was that? 21, okay. 25. And took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. This is the Egyptians saying this about the Egyptians. That's the Egyptians talking. We need to flee from before the face of Israel because their God fights for them against the Egyptians, against us. 26. And Elohim said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen. This is that honor that he's going to get upon Pharaoh. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it, and Elohim overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea. Something that we should see right here. And this is where this leads into a different topic. When people ask and say, well, what is the Holy Ghost or what is the Holy Spirit? And you say that the Holy Spirit is not a person. It was like, well, why does the scripture say that the Holy Spirit is a he and he shall reveal all things to you? Well, here it is in verse 27 of Exodus, of the 14th chapter, that the sea is called a him. Now, does that make the sea a man or a person? No. No, it does not. It's a literary device called personification, where you give inanimate objects the qualities of a person and vice versa. Saying like her muscles were hard as stone. It's personification. That's all it is. So right here is an example of something inanimate being called him or his. Similarly, how the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost, being the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, are called him. It's the exact same thing. Verse 28. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. So the Most High killed all of them. And the elder just brought out that a little while ago that Pharaoh actually survived this, that Pharaoh he himself did not go in. But everybody he sent in they were killed, they were drowned, they were crushed. So verse 29, but the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus Elohim saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. That has to be a terrible sight to see. An entire military of people dead on the seashore. Think about how much water they were under. Drowning is the least of their worries. When that wall of water crashed down on them from both sides, they got crushed and smashed. You ever threw a bucket of water on somebody? When that water hits you in the chest, you feel that. It has weight to it. It's just like if you carry a gallon of water or carry a gallon of milk, you can carry a gallon of water or a gallon of milk in your hand, no problem. In one hand, you're fine with that. Try carrying a 5-gallon bucket full of water. It's what, 40 pounds minus the bucket? It gets heavy. Imagine a wall of water falling on you. You don't drown in that. You are literally crushed to death. So think about all these people that they saw that were crushed by a wall of water. People and horses and everything else that they had with them. Jania, I see your hand.
Well, if you think about it, remember that's also where they drowned the babies. So as their babies and children were being thrown into the waters and being crushed, so is he doing the same to them?
Absolutely. He did it to them worse. He did it to them worse. Oh, absolutely. Cain and amen. Where were we? Seashore. 31. And Israel saw that great work which Elohim did upon the Egyptians. And the people feared Elohim and believed Elohim and his servant Moses. This is one of the few times where the scriptures mention that the children of Israel saw the miracle. All right, they saw what the Most High had done. They saw it with their own eyes. And because of what they saw, then they feared and revered the Most High as well as Moses. It's one of the few times that they say that the scripture explicitly mentions that, all right, nobody had to tell you about this. You saw this with your own eyes. But even still, the children of Israel, as we know, because we've read this book before, they still decide to go back on the Most High. They still choose to disobey him. They're like, he did all that, but what has he done for me lately? All right. So any questions about the remainder of chapter 14?
I don't have a question. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, Aliyahu, go ahead.
Well, how can I say this? Like, why the significance of the Red Sea? Like you read about how the Malach Yahuwah, or the angel Malach Elohim, led them, right? And you just mentioned how the children of Yashar, Israel, this was a miracle that they saw. This is not one that the first generations, they saw it. And so this was not one that those particular Israelites were told of. They witnessed it, right? So why specifically the Red Sea? Like, why did the Malach lead them? I mean, you have the Malach leading them, you have Moshe or Moses leading them. Why? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know one of the obvious answers would be, well, so he could drown the Egyptians. That's gonna be an obvious one. But is there anything more to it than that?
I don't know if you can tell, but I'm ready to take notes.
All right. So here's what I'm gonna do. Do you remember this? If you do, just say yeah. No, because I do. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna read it real quick. Right. I'm not gonna say where I'm reading it from just yet. I will tell you. The reason why I want to read it, there's only one verse. I just want to see if anybody picks it up. That's why I want to read it. So it says, this talking about Noah. And he knew, the he in this context is Noah. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations forever. The whole land of Eden, as in the Garden of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the East, and India, and on the Red Sea, and the mountains thereof. I'll just stop there for a second. Pick that up, Nathan. Oh. Okay, so I'll give it away. So who are the Israelites?
The Shemites.
Descendants of Shem, right? Who did the Red Sea belong to? The land of the Red Sea belonged to. It was given to Shem by Noah, right? Now, well, this part might not be known. And who squatted on it? The Hamites or the Egyptians.
Oh, wow.
So one of the reasons they being destroyed right here on this particular land, because y'all squatted on this land, and I told y'all to lead us to Shem. Listen, you were supposed to leave it to Shem and his descendants, and you didn't listen. So not only did you kill my children, like I think it was Jania or Cynthia who was saying this, in these waters. Now I'm gonna do the same thing, but it's almost like you in my house. You know what I'm saying? And like I'm the dad, these are my children. I gave this land to my children. You gonna squat on it? No, I'm about to crush you. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna cause my Malak to lead my children here. This is their land. Now think about this. With any other miracle, why did the Most High even I won't even say allow Moses to stretch his hand over the sea? It's like the sea obeyed Moses. It wasn't like Moses get to the sea and I'm gonna just make the water come back. I want you to stretch out your rod, stretch your hand over it.
It's
What was
because of Moses, like he has dominion over everything. He has dominion. He's a part of that lineage of Shem.
Correct. Well, in other words, like who's the king of Egypt at this time? Pharaoh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Pharaoh rules the land, and whatever other lands that Egypt has under its control, he runs there, right? So it's almost like Pharaoh, you can give your servant an order and he'll go get Moses and Aaron or something, right? But I'm gonna show you who this land really belongs to. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like, because the Egyptians wouldn't have heard that if the Most High is speaking directly to Moses. They're not going to hear that. But it is possible that the children of Israel, as well as the Egyptians, could see Moses stretching his hand over the water, and then they seeing the water react. That's almost like, remember when you was just talking about it, Kelly. Nehemiah. When Yahusha controlled the sea, and they was like, what type of man is this that even the winds and the waters obey obey him, right? It was that type of same thing, but back then. But the undercurrent to it is, well, this land belongs. So what I'm trying to get at is like you was talking about no weapon formed against you shall prosper. When we was on our territory, even the land would obey us and consume our enemies.
Now please tell us.
Oh yeah. Say that one more time.
Please tell us where that reading was from.
That's from Jubilees, the 8th chapter, the 21st verse. And I guess I have to give you the other scripture that talks about before Noah died, when he's divvying up the parts of the earth to his sons. He gives the promised land to Shem, and that whole region to Shem, and he gives the other part to Japheth and the Hamites and etc. And at one part, Canaan is like, yeah, I think I want to go squat on this land, and his dad's like, I don't think you should do that. And it's because when Noah divvied the land up to Shem, Ham, and Japheth, he made them vow a vow to never take one another's land, and he made them swear upon it by an oath or a curse, which means if you don't stick to this, a curse will come upon you. And so I'll give you that verse too, but one of the reasons why the Red Sea actually came and crushed them was a part of that curse. but I'll give you that verse too. Yeah.
Okay. If you got it ready.
Oh, let me get it real quick.
Okay.
And I'll put it in the chat once I have it.
Kane, that'll work. So that's one of those useful information, useful parts of history, that information of history that's in another book. So absolutely, see, it's in the book of Jubilee, and I'm not knocking it, I'm not mad at it. That is awesome to see that. But were there any other questions for chapter 14? No. Okay. All right. Let's jump into 15. Now, 15 is a song. The majority of 15 is a song, and I'm assuming that in Hebrew this rhymes a lot better, but in English it doesn't really rhyme too well. But it is a song. And so 15 verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Elohim, and spake, saying, I will sing unto Elohim, for he hath triumphed gloriously, the horse and the rider that he thrown into the sea. Elohim is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him an habitation. My father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord, or Elohim, is a man of war. Elohim is his name. Verse 3. Why is that important? Why is that important that the Most High is a man of war?
Because he fights for his people.
Exactly. I'm not trying to trip y'all up. These are not trick questions. It's easy stuff. The Most High fights, and he has no problem fighting. So 50 Cent, I don't know who you know what this is. Curtis, I think his last name is Jackson. Curtis Jackson. He's a rapper. He's an entertainer, and he said something that was recorded, and I saw it as a meme. He says, I don't ever want a problem. It's like, people think I'm a thug, I'm a gangster. I'm not, truly I'm not. He says, I don't ever want a problem. But if somebody tells me that they want a problem, I say no problem. And he was like, and what that makes him look like, it makes him look like he's out looking for trouble, and that I'm always with it, I'm ready to fight whenever. But he's like, no, he's like, that's not the case. If somebody tells me that they have a problem with me and they want to do something to me, he's like, okay, I have no problem with that. That's the Most High's attitude. I have no problem destroying you and all your people. If you go outside of your daily routine to harm my people, I have no problems coming to get you. In fact, I live for that. If my people are doing what they're supposed to do. What was that? 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people shall repent and humble themselves, then I will heal their land. Yeah, I will fight and I will kill and tear up some stuff for them. But don't get it twisted. Just because you hear me quiet and I'm not doing anything, don't mean that at a moment's notice I can't just turn that switch on. Okay, you have a question, Mother?
I don't have a question, I have a point. Not only is he fight, but he expects us to fight too. Doesn't he tell us to put on the whole armor?
Yes.
That's the fight.
Yes, that speaks to a lot about the character of the Most High. When he says he's a man of war, meaning he's a military man. He expects a certain order. He expects you to get in line. He expects you to follow those orders. There's a way that he deals. It goes into his hierarchy. This is a pyramid. Nobody above me, and I'm at the peak. Thank you. Toda Aliyahu. No, wait, no, that was Joseph. You were putting in the verse that Aliyahu was talking about. Joseph.
Cain.
You were putting up.
That's the dividing of the lands.
Okay, thank you, Cain. So absolutely. So the Most High this gives you a little insight into his character. When he says that he is a man of war. I mean, I fight. I have no problems with fighting. He says, but also there's an order on how I expect things to be done. If I give you a command, you follow it. That's why you will see all throughout scripture, like if we go back to chapter 14 and verse 19, it says, and the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. These are military terms, the camps. You'll see that all throughout scripture. And he talks about how the children of Israel, when they left Egypt, they left, and it says in rank, and it means in order. They left out in a certain order. They left out orderly, right? So you see these terms all throughout scripture, and it's because this is how the Most High operates. This is a part of his character. Things are done decently and in order, like a military. Aliyahu, y'all in these hands.
Oh, sorry. Kane, so I wasn't gonna bring this up, but you did. And I'm gonna just make it real quick. You said when we walked in ranks, right? We moved in ranks. This is military, right? You know, generally when you see like the Prince of Egypt, it shows you all of the children of Israel in one big massive, just one massive line.
Right.
But like you just said, that's not how we moved historically. We didn't just formate into one big conglomerate. We walked in ranks according to our tribes. So even when we was coming out of Mitzrayim, this is how Moses and the heads of the tribes were coming out of Egypt. So there's 12 tribes, so we had 12 lines, if you will, right? So I know this is gonna blow your mind and this might seem unbelievable. And I give you the verse, but generally when you hear about the Red Sea being split and all of that, it's generally referred to like if you think of a big body of water and it just splits in two, it divides, right? And then what you see is that one line go through the middle, right? If you see like the 10 Commandments, Prince of Egypt, right? But because that's not how we walked, the Book of Jubilees actually tells us that the Red Sea was split into 12 divisions.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't just split through the middle, it was split 12 ways, 12 different ways.
Wow.
And each different tribe, even as we were walking already, would walk through the Red Sea like that.
Wow.
But you know, that's not traditionally, you don't see that in like the Prince of Egypt, or you don't hear that. You just think, oh, it was split. And you think, oh, it was split in half. Well, it was actually split into 12 different fragments for each, because remember, this is over 600,000 people.
Yeah.
This is over, you know what I'm saying? So it was split, you know, for real, for real.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. But I'm just saying that fits with how we moved. We didn't, you know, just bubble up. We walked according to tribe, and then we moved in synchrony. But it was still 12, you know, lines, if you will.
Yeah, and ranks and orderly. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, right.
That makes
But
that
didn't Jacob do that when he was going to meet his brother Esau?
Esau, yeah.
broke 'em up. Yeah.
Same thing. It was a battle formation, and it was to protect the family, but it was clearly a battle formation prepared.
Okay. Absolutely. And I think we actually, when we read through that Torah portion, somebody actually mentioned that he sent out, when Jacob sent out his other portions of his family first, he kept Leah and Rachel closest to him.
Right. In the military term now, we call those sneaky peeks. That's actually a military name of those who are get into, they be in places on top of the enemy don't know they're there. And then they come back and relay information. And that's why they earned the name sneaky peeks.
Oh, you see that in the book of Joshua when they went and eyeballed the land of Canaan. He sent Joshua and Caleb. He said, "Go to the south and go up top and
Absolutely
spy out the land." Yeah. All praises to the Most High. I just read that. So chapter 15, verse 4. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Elohim, has become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Elohim, have dashed in pieces the enemy. And in the greatness of thine excellency, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. Pause right here. This is a little bit of foreshadow. Verse 7. This is a little bit of foreshadowing. He says, which thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. What is stubble referring to? What how do I put this without giving it away? What leaves behind stubble?
Something's been burnt up.
Something's been burnt. Yeah, absolutely. So fire leaves behind stubble. Did he burn the Egyptians? He drowned them, right? Water does not leave behind stubble. What is this making a reference to?
Wheat
Dead.
and chaff.
Huh?
Dead.
Yes, but here Moses is making it's intentional. The Most High is making an intentional reference to something.
The separation of the wheat and the chaff being burned up.
Ooh. See, now you're gonna have to explain that. What does that mean?
The separation of his people and those people going to hell burnt up. I don't know.
Does anyone want to help her out? This is just how dope the Most High is. He's talking about the end of something all the way back in the beginning. This is back in Exodus. And he's talking about the end of something. Where are we?
Is he talking about how Esau is going to be separated from Israel?
Separated? What do you mean?
I mean, they going to just die. Okay, how about that? Is that what he said?
Okay, let's jump to the book of Obadiah. You guys are right on it. You guys are right on it. The book of Obadiah, there's only one chapter, verse 18. Aliyahu, can you read that for me, please?
Yeah, sorry. So can you hear me?
Yes, Cain,
Okay. You said Obadiah.
verse 18.
What chapter? Oh, one, sorry.
What?
Think of- It says, "And the house of Yaakov shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame,
Flame.
and the house of Esau for stubble."
For what?
Stubble.
For stubble. Now notice, the house of Jacob shall be fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. So both of these, it's talking about the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Once we're reunited together, we're going to be a fire. And he says, in the house of Esau for stubble. Continue on.
And they shall kindle in them and devour them. And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahuwah have spoken it.
So a fire and a flame, and they shall kindle in them and devour them. So this is the reference that the Most High is putting all the way back in Exodus. So it's not just about the Egyptians here. This is what I said when the Most High was talking about in chapter 14, when he says that the Lord will fight for you. It's not just about him fighting the Egyptians. When he told Moses in verse 13, verse 14, chapter 14 and 14, the Lord shall fight for you and you shall hold your peace. It's not just concerning the Egyptians. Here we see another foreshadow of another nation of Esau and the Edomites later on, way on at the end. And he says that which consumed them in verse 7, 15 and 7, and which consumed them as stubble. It's making a reference to how Edom and Esau is going to be destroyed. They are going to be as stubble. And we may have to do a whole lesson on that, what that fire is, but it's pretty deep. So let's go back, verse 8. And with the blast of thy nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The flood stood upright as an heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them. They sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Elohim, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in thy strength unto thy holy habitation. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling, shall take hold upon them. All the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine arm, they shall be as still as a stone, till thy people pass over, O Elohim, till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Remember, we talked about this earlier. For the most, I say, I will fight for you. And it mentions how he will get his honor upon Pharaoh and his hosts. This is going that same thing. This is a result of the Most High getting his honor upon Pharaoh and his hosts. Let's go from here and let's jump to Joshua chapter 2 and verse 9, something I just briefly made mention of a second ago. Joshua chapter 2 and verse 9. So Joshua chapter 2 and verse 9. Now this is Rahab speaking to Joshua and Caleb. And it reads, and she said unto the men, I know that Elohim hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all inhabitants of the land faint because of you. Notice how she says this. Notice how she says this. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. I'm going back to verse 9. And she said unto the men, I know that Elohim hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how Elohim dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when ye came out of Egypt, and what ye did unto the two kings of the Amorites that were on the other side Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom ye utterly destroyed. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt. Let's go back to chapter 15, verse 15. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling shall take hold upon them. And all the inhabitants of Canaan, where Rahab is, shall melt away. That's exactly what she said, almost verbatim. What Moses and the children of Israel are singing about in the exact same way that they put it in this song, Rahab is reciting it back to Joshua and Caleb. The land of Canaan, which is where she is, she says that our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Elohim, your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. That's how the renown of the Most High and the children of Israel was scattered across the world, because she's in the land of Canaan and she already knows this story. Even though there's 40 years of time in between now and then. Even though, and we're going to run into that what we're reading about in Exodus is like day one or year one, however you want to say it. And when they get to Canaan, when Joshua and Caleb go into Canaan, that's 40 years later. They are still singing that song, or they still remember what the Most High did to the Egyptians for the children of Israel 40 years later. Even though during that 40 years, the children of Israel had just been wandering around in the wilderness, lost, and not really doing anything of mention, of concern to anybody else. They've been out here lost, wandering around. 40 years later, people in Canaan, Rahab, still knows what the Most High did. This is what it means when the Most High says, I will get honor upon Pharaoh. That thing lasted forever. So verse 17, back to Exodus 15 and 17. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Elohim, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Elohim, which thy hands have established. Elohim shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and with his horsemen into the sea, and Elohim brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. So right here in verse 20, regardless of what anybody says to you, this song apparently was hot back then. Because you see Miriam and the prophetess, Miriam the prophetess and all the women picked up their tambourines and started dancing to it. This song was top 100 on the Billboard. Verse 21. And Miriam answered them, sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto Elohim, and Elohim showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. Put a star next to verse 25 and mainly highlight, and there he proved them, meaning Elohim, or the Most High, proved the children of Israel. What does it mean that he proved them? Excuse me.
Well, what's the question? I'm sorry. What's the question?
What does it mean in verse 25 when it says, and there he proved them? What does it mean when the Most High proved the children of Israel?
He tested them.
He tested them. Whoa, what in the world just happened? I'm sorry, my computer, okay, just started doing something. Yes, he tested them. Tested them how? What do you mean he tested them?
That's what I was about to ask.
They didn't have any water. So versus murmuring and complaining, they weren't grateful for what just happened. He already showed that he would give them and fight for them. So simply coming before him and asking versus complaining and complaining about it, he just proved that you're never going to be satisfied. Like, you want it the easy way.
Okay. I agree with you. But there's something else to that. Aliyahu?
Oh no, I can wait till you go.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay. Oh man, this is gonna be good. I mean, it's gonna be good for me. I don't know about y'all, but so what she just said is true. He proved them with that. Y'all just saw a whole sea split, and now y'all talking about ain't no water. You really think I can't give you water after you just saw a whole sea split and y'all walked on dry ground, right? But here's the kicker. It said he proved them. It said that 24, and the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink, right? Hold on. This was on this. Oh man, how can I say this? I'm gonna say it this way just so it strikes hard, then I explain it. When they murmured, it was on the Sabbath. When, okay, the parting of the Red Sea happened during Passover week.
Mhm.
So like on the 14th day of the first month is Passover,
Mhm.
right? That's that night they came out, right? Into, I mean, out of Mizraim. On the 15th is the first day of unleavened bread, right? Now, in the law, the first day of unleavened bread is a what?
Sabbath.
It's a Shabbat, a Sabbath, right? Okay.
Mhm.
But the last day is 2.
Mhm.
Now, the 15th is a Sabbath, but what precedes the 15th? A miracle, right? He slaughtered all the firstborn males of Egypt, of humans and animals, right? So the same is going to be true for the 7th day of Passover, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is why it's a Shabbat. So the day preceding it, the 6th day of unleavened bread, they saw a miracle. What miracle do you think that was? The parting of the Red Sea. And this is why he commanded them on the 7th day of unleavened bread to rest, because they would have just witnessed his power, his miracles. This was the end of unleavened bread, literally. And so on the 6th day of unleavened bread is when they crossed and came out of the Red Sea. I mean, where they crossed the Red Sea. The last day is going to be that Shabbat, where they're supposed to have the set apart congregation and everything. And this is it. And they're murmuring, what are we going to drink? You know, that's not a good thing there. That's not going to be, because this is going to go back to what? Well, in Exodus 16, I told you I would feed you double, on the 6th day. I would provide for you so that you wouldn't have to go out and look for it on the 7th day Shabbat. Why is this going to be any different? Excuse me. Why is this going to be any to them? It is the mindset. But they're murmuring, right? They're complaining, and this is going to be on the last day of unleavened bread. This is so, like you just said, Miriam and the women, they getting their timbrels, they dancing, and the whole nation is singing this song. Excuse me, stick up. And then right after that, they're complaining. But go ahead.
Okay. So, okay, that is a great point. And so it says that he proved them there. So yes, Jania, you were right, and he tested them. This is the test, and this is an example of something that we've seen before. Probably don't realize it. Go back to Genesis chapter 2 and start at verse 15. So Genesis chapter 2, verse 15.
And
Go ahead.
I was just about to read it.
Oh, absolutely. By all means, go ahead.
And Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it.
All right, now pause. Now, right here in verse 15, this was Adam's job. Right here, this is in the way that the Most High is putting it right here. This is just a synopsis of what Adam's job was. It says, and he put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. So that was Adam's job. Now, what that goes into, it's a lot into what dressing and keeping the garden was, but this is Adam's job. Continue on verse 16.
And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt. Oh,
pause. So he says, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat,
Mhm.
but He gives them a but, meaning there's a contrast here.
Correct.
There's something that you cannot do. I'm telling you, you can do all of this. Eat all the lemons you want. Eat all the oranges you can handle. You will never have scurvy with these two trees. And do whatever it is you want to do with any of the trees in the garden. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, continue on.
Thou shalt not eat of it,
A commandment.
for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
He just gave him two commandments. First commandment was, you can eat of every tree in the garden freely. That's a commandment. Thou shalt eat of any tree in the garden, of any tree in the garden. But here's the second commandment. Thou shalt not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. This is the test for Adam at this point. It's just him. This is the test for Adam. Because did the Most High, at this point, did the Most High put up a physical barrier around the tree of the knowledge of good and evil to keep Adam from eating it? Is there anything physically stopping Adam from reaching up and eating of this tree?
No.
Nothing. You don't see the angel put there until after they have already eaten of the tree and are cast out of the garden. At this particular moment, it's just the Most High's word. Adam, you can eat of anything you see out here except from this one tree. Don't touch this. This is not for you to eat. Anyway, let's go over here and I'm gonna show you. So he just leaves it there. The test is to see if Adam is going to be obedient. So if I give you the option to break my commandment and you choose to keep it, that's the obedience. That's the test that Adam was given. You have the option to eat of this tree or not. I'm telling you not to, but I am not physically stopping you from doing this. That's the test. That's where the obedience is. That's why this tree was in the garden. Because if you don't have a choice, if you don't have the options, it's neither obedience nor disobedience. You don't have a choice. The other people who were around at this time, who were out in the world prior to the fall of Adam, they did not have a choice but other than to be exactly what the Most High told them to be. Fruitful and multiply. Go on out there, live, eat whatever you want to, have at it, be fruitful and multiply. That's it. That's the only option they had. So they weren't out there doing anything other than what they had the option to do. They didn't have an option really. But Adam was given an option. You can eat this stuff, which I allow, or you can eat this stuff, which I told you not to eat. The choice is yours. Now, in making that choice to follow the Most High, that's where the obedience comes in. That's where there's power. That's why the Most High says, I would rather obedience other than sacrifice. There's power in that obedience. You need the sacrifice for when you mess up. I would much rather you not mess up, just be obedient. That was Adam's test. We go back to Exodus, when he says that he's proving them, this is the children of Israel's test. In verse 25, and he says, and there he proved them. Not only are they out here murmuring and crying after all the crap that literally, you were only a week out of Egypt. Remember all the stuff I did there? Literally, there were 10 plagues and 10 miraculous wonders that you saw. Not 1 or 2 or 3, 10 for your behalf. Then you get out, I split an ocean for you. Literally. Jania, if you're talking, you're muted. I saw your square light up, but I didn't hear a word.
No, I was coughing.
Okay, sorry. So here it is. You're complaining after seeing all of this. Now the test comes in, not just in the fact that they're murmuring in the water and the waters of Mara were bitter. And he's like, all right, here, take this, put this in the water. It'll be sweet, you'll be good. This is not the test. Here's the test in verse 26. and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of your Lord, of Yahweh your Elohim, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give an ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am Yahweh that healeth thee. I am your Elohim. This is their test. Notice at the beginning of that, he said, verse 26, and said, if. Now, is he forcing the children of Israel to keep the commandments? No. They have the option to follow it or to disobey it. You have the option. This is where the testing starts. This is where that proving starts. I'm going to give you guys commandments that you have to follow. Now, if you choose to follow them, great. I got some place I'm about to take you. I'm going to take you into this land, and it's going to be everything you could ever need, ever imagine. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. The weather is going to be amazing. You're going to love it. All of that. But if you choose not to follow me, it's going to be hell to pay. And you're not going to like it. Verse 27. And they came to Elim, where were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. Everybody good with chapter 15? Any questions or comments? All right, let's bounce. 16:1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin. Now, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I see S-I-N, and I pronounce that Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. So at this point, it has been 2 months, and we are 15 days into that 2nd month after they have left Egypt. So a little bit of time has passed, right? And they're still just out here walking around, being proven. You got to understand that. So highlight verse 16. They've been out here being proven for 2.5 months. The Most High has been testing them. 2.5 months. Aliyahu?
Did you say highlight verse 16?
I'm sorry, chapter 6, verse 1. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Verse 1. Torah. Verse 2. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of Elohim, or of Yahweh, in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. I want y'all to notice, I want y'all to know something about the wilderness of Sin. And this is something, and I was actually talking about this before with Prentice. There's something weird about the timeline here that I don't understand yet. The wilderness of Sin. Sin is a Babylonian goddess. Now, okay, I'm gonna try not to lose you guys. When you get into the book of Daniel and you read about Nebuchadnezzar, you might not notice that you have actually, by the time you read through the whole saga of Nebuchadnezzar, through the book of Daniel, through the accounts of Daniel, that you have actually read about 3 different men named Nebuchadnezzar. It's Nebuchadnezzar the first, the second, and the third. Nebuchadnezzar the first is the one who has the vision. Nebuchadnezzar the second is the one who builds the tower of himself. Nebuchadnezzar the third, the one who builds the tower, is the one who gets sick. That's the one who becomes a beast in the field that Daniel takes care of. Nebuchadnezzar the third is the one who elevates Daniel to second in power in Babylon. It's 3 different people. Nebuchadnezzar the second, he has another name, and we've seen this before, where like in Roman culture, when a person becomes Caesar, that becomes his name, right? So there's like we see now with the popes. The popes' names are something else before they become pope, and then their names change to Pope Alexander or Pope whatever, Pope Francis. They change their names once they become pope. Same thing happened back in Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar the second, his name was Nabonidus. And if you can go into like different books where you can get this history on what was actually going on. Nabonidus, the reason he became exiled and he became sick, that's the one that became sick. Yes, he did sin against the Most High, and he started speaking all wildly and crazy about himself. But one of the things that happened was the Babylonians did not particularly like him because he was trying to re-erect the temple of Sin. The temple of Sin was one of the goddesses that they no longer followed at that time. He was a big follower of the goddess of Sin. And again, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it looks like Sin to me, so I say Sin. He was a follower of Sin. Her symbol, or the thing that they associated her with, was the crescent moon. So during his reign, he was re-elevating and reintroducing the temple and the goddess of Sin and the worship of her symbol, the crescent moon. During that time is when the children of Israel were in Babylon and they began to worship the crescent moon. Babylon did not actually create that god. There was another god that the Egyptians had that was a crescent moon. They also associated him with a bull because the crescent moon, if you lay it on the side, looks like horns. So he had a head of a bull, and he also stood in front of, on his crown, a crescent moon. So the Babylonians picked up that god as well, but they incorporated it to be a female, and they worshiped her, and her name was Sin. This wilderness of Sin is the same place, except it wasn't, I don't think during this time it was the Babylonian Empire, because Babylon had not spread yet the way they had done later on when we get to the book of Daniel. That's why I was saying there's something weird about the timeline. So what we have right here is, I don't want to call it foreshadowing, but this is the wilderness of Sin, which is the Babylonian goddess. Maybe this is Moses calling it something that it's not yet, but that it will be called in the future. And an example of this, and this is why I highlighted it, is we just read this a little bit before, right in verse 23, in chapter 15, verse 23. This is Moses. You see Moses call this Mara before it's called Mara. He says, and when they came to Mara, they could not drink of the waters of Mara, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Mara. So prior to them drinking the water, they did not call it Mara. It was called something else. But Moses, right here in Exodus, tells you that they arrived in Mara, even though it wasn't called that. They didn't call it that until after they drank the water and realized that it was bitter, and then they called it Mara. I personally think, and I'll do more study on this to get concrete evidence, that right here, when Moses in chapter 16 calls it the wilderness of Sin, it's because he knows that later on, the Babylonian Empire comes along and this is their goddess, and it's in this particular area or somewhere around here that they call this area Sin in reference to their goddess. Did I lose any? I'm pretty sure I lost somebody. Oh, I didn't? Are you guys clear? Aliyahu, you was about to bring something out, and Celise, I'm gonna need you to explain it in just 1 second. Aliyahu, you was about to
Go first. She can go first.
Okay.
Are you referring to the comment in the chat, or?
Yes, the comment that she just put in the chat about Ramses.
Okay.
Celise, what were you referring to?
So I can't tell you where exactly in the history that Ramses actually comes up, but he was a pharaoh that came after this present pharaoh. When it talks about they were building the city of Ramses,
Oh, okay.
it wasn't originally called that, but that's what it became like sometime later.
Oh, okay. Cain. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Aliyahu, what were you about to bring out?
I was actually only going to say this when you said if you lost anybody, if anybody said yes, but I'll go ahead and share it. It's also called the, and you may know this. I just don't know if you wanted to talk on this part, but it's also called the wilderness of sin because it is in this. So remember, I forget which verse it is where Yahuwah says, "So that you may know to put a distinction between Yashraal and the Egyptians."
Is it 11 and 7?
I believe so.
Yeah. Exodus 11 and 7.
Okay. Well, in 11 and 7, it was to put a distinction between Yashraal and the Egyptians. Now they're out of Egypt, and now Yahuwah is going to put a distinction between. This is the first time we are going to see the. Remember when Paul says, "Not everyone who is Israel is Israel." This is the first time we're about to see that. We're going to see the first time of a remnant out of the whole 600,000. So in the wilderness of sin, even though they've come out of Egypt, those whom are still stuck in their sin will be left here. They'll die here. And and as we know, that's going to last for how long? 40 years. Right. Exactly. For 40 years. And so as we know, it's only a remnant out of everybody who made it into this wilderness and through this 40-year span who get to go into the promised land. It's not nowhere near all the 600,000, right? So we have to see, like right now, like we live in America, and there are other Israelites who live all over the world, right? Well, before we can go into his kingdom, when the Most High first brings us out of America and out of Europe and so forth and so forth, we have a wilderness experience. And that wilderness experience is the Most High is not going to just have us living in spiritual Egypt for 400 years and then just take us out of here and bring us to the holy city.
Right.
We gotta make a pit stop. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You gotta weed some of y'all out, you know what I'm saying? So that's what the wilderness of sin became. It became the weeding out process, even of the remnant, though. I mean, of Yashraal. Whereas before, all right, it's all of y'all, and I'm gonna put a distinction between you all and the Egyptians. But when y'all come out of Egypt, this gonna get a little smaller. You know, and so because remember, they were in this wilderness for 40 years, but this was only an 11-day journey.
Yep.
You know,
actually, we're going to matter of fact, we're going to touch on that. Really, matter of fact, since you brought it up, since you did it, Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 2.
go ahead.
Brought it up, Aliyahu. Deuteronomy chapter 1 and verse 2.
Okay. Says, there are 11 days journey from Horeb by the way of Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea.
This is where they were.
Mm-hmm.
This is how long that trip should have taken.
11 days.
It should have taken 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
That Mount Seir, that's where that's who remembers who ended up dwelling in Mount Seir?
Edom. Had to give it.
Edom dwells now. That was not now, but that's became Edom's dwelling place. So that's where they were when they left. They walked past Mount Seir. Kadesh Barnea, that's in Canaan. That's where they were headed. It was only supposed to take 11 days.
And today it's an 8-hour plane ride.
It was supposed to take 11 days. Here, like, to put this into perspective, to see just how stupid, right? I don't think that gives it enough oomph. We were impatient, selfish, just idiotic, right? By the time we get to chapter 16, verse 1, we have been out of Egypt already at this point 2.5 months. We should have been in the land of Canaan for more than 2 months at this point. A week out of Egypt, we see back in chapter 15, and they're already murmuring and complaining. A week out, 7 days. You had 4 more days and you would have been there. 4 more days, and we could have been in the promised land. We couldn't last 11 days. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Aliyahu. I didn't mean to cut you off, but you brought that up.
Right, but no, but that's correct. So so it took 40 years. And if you can get the rat in the wheel in your mind. That's what we was doing for 40 years. We were just peddling a cycle, going round and round and round around the same few trees, the same, every 2 days. Oh, we were just here going through the same thing. And in doing this time, people are dying off. People are dying off. People are dying off. Remember in the book of Hebrews, I think it's the book of Hebrews, where it says, and those who did not believe would not enter into his rest. Is it Hebrews? That might be Deuteronomy, but Hebrews makes reference to it. I might be conflicting the two. Hold on, let me see. I think it is Hebrews because it talks about there remaineth the rest for the people of Elohim.
3:19.
Hebrews 3:19.
Yeah, that's one of them, and then there's also 4 and 6.
What's going on 6 say?
It's 4 and 9.
Oh, 4 and 9. Okay. 4 and 9.
Let me get it. Oh, wait. Let me get 4 and 9 says there remaineth therefore a rest to the people of God.
Mm-hmm.
4 and 6 says, seeing therefore it remaineth that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief.
That part of 6, correct.
Okay.
So visualize this. It's over 600,000 people. The bulk of these people do not believe, and they range in age from really, really young to middle age to really, really old. But Yahuwah is not going to let these people into the promised land. So the 40 years in the wilderness of sin was to really just let these people die off, so that he could bring the ones who did believe into the land, bring those Kodesh ones into the Kodesh land. Or the faithful into the faithful land. But those who were faithless couldn't come. It's no different than when we read in the Berit Hadashah or the New Testament that without faith, it is impossible to please Elohim. Right? And we also see that in Habakkuk chapter 2 as well. But this is where, even though we have literally like what happened in Egypt was the result. It was the Most High side of the deal. He promised Abraham he would have a seed, and they would be as numerous as the stars of the sea, of the sky, and as the sand of the sea, and that he would deliver his people. Right? When they came out of Egypt, that was supposed to be our part of the deal, and the majority of the people didn't hold to it. We came out of Egypt, but sin didn't come out of them. Unbelief didn't come out of them. So therefore, and see, you really get to see the patience of the Most High, because like you pointed out, Nehemiah, we were impatient, but he was super patient because he was waiting to bring us into the land, but he would not do it as long as we was mixed in with the unbelievers of our own people.
I'm gonna let you go. I'm not gonna jump in.
No, go ahead. That's I'm just pointing out this is why it's called the wilderness of sin. Another reason why it's called the wilderness of sin, because this is where he took the sin, removed sin from our people. He removed us from the Egyptians when we were amongst the heathen. Now we're just amongst ourselves, and he's got to take sin out of us. So yeah, go ahead and jump in.
Hey, but this ties right into that testing and that proving. The Most High is like, yeah, I'm gonna test you all now, and you're out here in the wilderness, supposedly with no distractions. It's just you and me. Now I'm going to test you to see if you really about me and about what I say do. And in this wilderness of no distractions, I'm gonna see how many of y'all make it. Even though he already knew that everybody from 20 and under are the ones who are going to go into the land of milk and honey, into the promised land. The rest of y'all in this generation of backbiting and murmuring and complaining all the time, none of y'all gonna make it. Elder, I see your hand.
Okay. Another note is, when we were talking about, you see that in the Brit Hadashah when it talks about the marriage feast. And what you have to do it talks about the lamp and the oil, which we all know is the Torah. How many people will have that? How many people will fizzle out at the end? All that is in a stretch of time. You talked about time, a stretch of time. Everything has an appointed time, and what you do with that appointed time will directly relate to where you end up. So some people will have a barakah, some will be blessed, some of us won't be, because of, like you said, the mindset. So we're clearly witnessing it now in our own lives. So, some of us go through 40 years and then all of a sudden the revelation of Yah comes and they begin to move into that direction. Then they start seeing things happen in their lives. Then there's some people that stay the same and they die in it. So, clearly, we're actually walking through these time periods in our times of, I'm older and then some of us are younger, and then some of us are really young. They're going to learn from us. And you're going to see where everybody is, unfortunately. So just wanted to kind of bring it back to us. Us on the line, and I visit with some brothers that are in the camps, and it's the white man this and white man that. But then are you bringing people in? There's two people listening to you. So, where are they? Where are they mindset? So just want to put that out there.
Cain and amen. So we stopped at verse 4, right? Yes. Then said Yahweh unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Okay, everybody had an opportunity to read the Torah portion. When he says in verse 4 that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no, what is the Most High referring to?
Is it the bread that he's giving them? Are they going to be able to accept this bread that I'm giving them every day, if it's every day, or whatever I give them, or will they want more? Will there be stiff necks among you still?
Yes, and there's something extra to that. Remember, he said that they will walk in my law or no, meaning there's something that he told them to do regarding this bread. To do and not.
He told them to only gather it for 6 days and to gather twice the amount so they wouldn't be working on the Shabbat.
There you go. There you go. So that's what he's making a reference to. He says, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them. That's what the test is. This is another part of the test. This is another test. He tells them later on, he'll say it. Gather for what you're only going to eat that day. Don't gather any extra, or else it'll turn into worms and it'll stink. Only gather what you need for that day. Not everybody does it. Aliyahu?
Hey, that's correct. That's correct. This is gonna be real short and sweet. This is really for later. So we, the children of Israel, we knew about the Sabbath before the 10 Commandments. Because the 10 Commandments isn't given to Exodus 20.
Mm-hmm.
And that's given to Moses, right? And we've been in Egypt for 400 years. So I'm not asking for an answer to this. So how did we already know about the Sabbath? From what? From where? From who? Because Moses never mentions it until right here, or it's going to be mentioned to Moses to instruct the people, right? And then when you get to chapter 20, the command says, remember. So it says, remember the Shabbat to keep it set apart, right? So you can't remember something you haven't already been made aware of, right? So we knew about the Sabbath prior to the giving of the law on Mount Sinai. From where and how? I'm not asking for an answer now. I'm just putting that into your minds.
Okay. We went through this before. We went through this. But let y'all meditate on that, and we'll keep running. Verse 5. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at even then you shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning then ye shall see the glory of Yahweh, for that he heareth your murmurings against Yahweh. And what are we that ye murmur against us? And Moses said, this shall be when Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that Yahweh heareth your murmurings, which ye murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Most High, but against Yahweh. And Moses spake unto Aaron, say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before Yahweh, for he hath heard your murmurings. And it came to pass. Now I want you guys to see this. And we see it later on, but this is interesting right here. Think about how many people Aaron and Moses are talking to right now. Verse 10. And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. How many people was Aaron talking to? All of them. 1 million plus people out here in the wilderness. Aaron is talking to them with no microphone, no loudspeaker, nothing. Aaron is talking to everybody right now. Hamashiach does this when he feeds the multitude and say how hungry they were. And he talks to all them people out there. Okay, Celeste, all praises to the Most High. This one will be up on YouTube. But Aaron, we see Hamashiach when he did it, and he spoke to the multitude, well, it was 5,000 men and women and children. He spoke to all of them in a loud voice, and they all heard him and they all understood him. Same thing is happening right now with Aaron. Aaron is talking to 1 million plus people, 600,000 men. Okay. 600,000 men, which means the able-bodied combatants who are able to fight, plus their women and their children. Aaron is talking to the entire congregation. And then look what happens as he's talking. The glory of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. What's the significance of that cloud again? This could be another one of these angels coming in the cloud. Now, this one doesn't say whether or not it's a pillar or cloud. It just says in the cloud. Verse 11. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread. And ye shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay around about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And this is funny. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. That's what the word manna means. In Hebrew, it means, what is it? They saw it and didn't know what it was. Can you mute your phone? Echo. They saw it and didn't know what it was. So they said, What is it? And that's what they called it. They called it, What is it? Somebody is echo. Okay. Verse 16. Verse 15. And Moses said to them, This is the bread which Yahweh hath given you to eat. This is the thing which Yahweh hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man. According to the number of your persons, take ye every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Now this is parts of the test again. This is that test coming back in. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. Where have we seen, okay, like Eliyahu said, this is the weeding out process in the wilderness of sin. Some people are going to follow the commandments, and the Most High is going to carry them and take them into other places. Some of them are not, and you are going to die here. Something similar happened with Gideon. Remember when the Most High had Gideon to choose his army? Remember how he weeded some of them out? Any one of them who complains, send them back home. Now I'm going to take you over here for them to drink water. They say they're thirsty, let's get them water. If any of them get down on their hands and knees like a dog and slurp water out of the river, send them back home. But any one of them that scoops water in his hand and drinks from his hand, take him with you. And then even under that, how many of these are musicians? Everybody who's not a musician, send them home. This is a weeding out process. The same thing that happened with Gideon, that's happening right now. These small tests, they seem like they don't matter. It seems like it's something small. But this is the Most High weeding out the children of Israel who are going to follow and who are not going to follow. Something as simple as, look, I just brung this strange bread down from out of nowhere. Right? Y'all said y'all tired of bread only. I gave y'all quail too. Yet and still, I give you one small commandment. Don't save any for tomorrow. Eat, only pick up what you're going to eat for today. Eat that and be done with it. Don't save none for tomorrow. But how many people kept some over until the next day? The moral of this is the Most High can write you off for something as small as leftovers. Same thing happened when the Most High was talking about the Passover lamb. Don't keep any of that either. Eat all the lamb you're going to eat tonight. Whatever's left over, you need to put it in the fire and burn it. Here it is. It's like he's giving us chances over and over again. Like, dude, I told y'all, this is small stuff, but we won't obey for the small stuff. So he's just constantly cutting you off. Here go another 100. All y'all who kept leftover manna bread, cut y'all off too. So let's go in verse 21. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, They gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto Yahweh. Bake that which ye shall bake, which ye will bake today, and seethe that ye will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay it for you to be kept until the morning. All right, in verse 22, who saw what just happened?
I saw one.
Wait a minute, Aliyahu. Who in verse 22, who saw what just happened?
They're preparing for the Sabbath.
They were preparing for the Sabbath, absolutely. But something happened in that preparation for the Sabbath that they weren't aware of that they should do.
People gathered more stuff twice as much as they usually did. The rulers saw it.
The rulers saw it. And then what did they do?
They told Moses.
They went and told Moses. Why? Because Moses said, don't pick up double portions. But then he came back and said, for the 6th day, get double portions. So they was like, wait a minute. We need some clarity.
Right.
Remember what's happening now. This is that weeding out process. Those rulers and those who are leading right what they're supposed to do, they like, wait a minute, you got to clear this up, Moses. You said don't gather double portions. Now you tell us to gather double portions? What's going on? And then Moses introduces to them, I'm not going to say he introduced, not for the first time. This is Moses saying, this is something you do for the Sabbath day. Aliyahu, what were you about to say?
I was about to say, only you would know this, Nehemiah, as to why I'm about to say this. Man, but if you're really paying attention, it really just told you that the 16th day of the 2nd month is always a Shabbat. If you go back up to verses 1, what day was this?
The 15th day.
And the next day is going to be on the morrow, like Moses is about to say, on the morrow is the Sabbath. So the 16th day of the 2nd month is a Shabbat. That's all I was going to say, literally. Yeah, I'll stay there.
So this is going into calendar preparation.
It's going, so let me just be, well, I won't do that. But the 16th day of the 2nd month is a Shabbat. Now remember in verse 1, they left on the 15th. They came out of Egypt on the 15th day of the 1st month, right? Mm-hmm. And they came to the wilderness of Sin on the same day in the 2nd month, on the 15th day of the 2nd month. Mm-hmm. Everything we have read up until 22 is still that same day. Mm-hmm. It hasn't transpired into a new day. So in 23, Moses is getting ready to say, this is what you're going to do on tomorrow and forevermore. Well, while you're in the wilderness, at least, this whole 40 years you're in the wilderness. On the 6th day, because that's how long it rained manna, right? While they were in the wilderness. So on day 1 through 5, you can, when on the 6th day, you can go out, you can pick double manna, because you're not going to go pick none on the 7th day. This is the segue into this, right? The Shabbat is every 7 days. If the 16th day of the 2nd month is the Shabbat, then from this point on, you can literally lay out each Shabbat for the remainder of the year by date. Yeah. Right? By date. So that's why I mean, that's something that stuck out to me that I wanted to pinpoint, because what I'm trying to say is the Most High really didn't leave it up to guesswork for us. Yeah. Right. There are very subtle clues as to how to pinpoint the Shabbats, the feast days, whatever.
Yeah, you just got to be paying attention.
You just got to be paying attention. Right. You got to be like these rulers. Wait a minute, Moses. You just said don't cherry pick on. Now you're saying cherry pick. You know what I'm saying?
You said we are not trying to end up like Bob back then in the wilderness. We're not trying to hit them like Bob with the sticks, but you're absolutely right. You just got to be paying attention. So, all right. So that's what happened in verse 22. This was to them that this may have been a contradiction, and they needed Moses to clear this up. And Moses had to tell them on the Sabbath day, or on the day of preparation for the Sabbath, you pick a double portion. You cook what you're going to cook the day before, and you boil what you're going to boil the day before. And then you eat that the next day. So verse 24. And they laid it up till the morning as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worm therein. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto Yahuwah. Today ye shall not find it in the field. Pause. And we've gone over this before. Why would they not find any manna in the field on this day?
It's a Sabbath for the Lord as well.
Absolutely. So that means he ain't working either. So on the Sabbath day, there was no manna because the Most High is not putting it out there. That's work for him. Like, no, I'm not working today either. This Sabbath is not just for you. It's for everything, myself included. Because remember, all the way back in Genesis chapter 1, 6 days did he work, and on the 7th day, the Most High himself rested. Same thing here. He's been keeping that pattern since day 1. So verse 26, 6 days ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. They failed the test. All of these are just small tests where the Most High is just weeding Israel out. Didn't I tell you to gather double portion yesterday? Why are you out here looking for food? The Most High can write you off for not being prepared. Elder Joseph just brought up about the 10 virgins, about the virgins in the oil. The ones who did not have enough oil, what happened to them? When the bridegroom came, they got written off. Oh, you can't walk through the dark. Oh, you ain't got no fire. Oh, man, that's sad. You can go ahead and hang out right here. All right, see you later. You can be written off for not being prepared. We're going to continue on. We're going to learn it. We're going to stop playing with the Most High. Verse 28. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? How long y'all going to keep failing these tests? This is what he's asking them. I'm giving you small things. I told you to gather on the double portions on the Sabbath. You couldn't do that. I told you not to gather double portion on any other day of the week. You couldn't do that. You keep failing.
Not that they couldn't, they want to do what they want to do, like we want to do today. What we want to do.
Aliyahu, I hear something just welling up in you right now. All right, what you about to say?
I was about to say, so literally, this is day 1 in the wilderness. This is day 1. Day 2. Day 2. Day 2. Right? Then think about this. Why does he say how long? Now, we know they're going to be there for 40 years. This is the introduction. All right, let's visualize this. If you don't have this in mind, this is the first time they're keeping Shabbat coming out of Egypt for 400 years. This is the first time. Like, that really has to stick in your mind. This is the first time they're doing it. They've been in Egypt for 400 years. Did we think we was keeping the Shabbat in Egypt? No, because what was one of the things the Egyptians was doing to us?
Making us work.
Making us work, right. They was making, well, I don't know if y'all heard what Maisha said. No, I made this statement earlier. Remember, I said, this is Exodus 16. Moses hasn't been given the 10 commandments yet. In the 10 commandments, the commandment about the Shabbat says, remember the Shabbat, right? So this is chapter 16. This is 4 chapters before that, right? So it's not like we know the Most High created or instituted the Shabbat when?
In the beginning.
In the beginning, at creation, right? The end of the first week of creation, right? So what does that mean? That means all the time that so prior to Joseph going into Egypt, all of our forefathers, Adam, Seth, all of them was doing what?
Keeping the Sabbath.
Keeping the Sabbath, keeping the Shabbat, right? Until when?
So we went into Egypt.
Until we went into Egypt, which means that when did the people of Elohim stop keeping the Shabbat? When we went into Egypt. So that whole 400-year span, was we keeping any Shabbat? No. So then this is the first, so we're out of Egypt now. We've come to now this is really important. We've come to the wilderness of sin. It is in the wilderness of sin that we're going to be faced with the first time of keeping a Shabbat. And we failed. Well, there was some that failed, right? But this is the first time they're going to get to keep the Shabbat. And they went out. So he says, how long? Why does he say how long? And this is just day 2 of them in the wilderness, because he already knows y'all going to be here for 40 years. Y'all don't know that yet. But this is only day 2 for the rest of the 40 years. And he's saying, how long will you not keep my laws and commandments? Apart, like you wasn't doing it in Egypt because you couldn't, because of this is why Exodus gives the backdrop of Pharaoh and them being hard taskmasters. Like, remember when Moses went to Pharaoh and he said, let us go 3 days journey into the wilderness so that we can sacrifice and worship unto our Elohim. Mm-hmm. And he said, and we will return. But Moses knew we ain't coming back though. You know,
you let it come, that's it.
Right. We, but that was why Moses said that, because while we were in Egypt, what was one thing that was not happening? We was not worshiping
our Elohim.
Not the way we were supposed to, according to our forefathers, with sacrifices. We wasn't making no animal sacrifices unto him, except when Moses comes and tells us about Pesach. But remember, we had learned that from Noah. If you look at Passover, if you look at what Noah did when he came off the ark, that's where Passover comes from. You know what I'm saying? So, but we couldn't do that. We couldn't keep Shabbat. And so now here's the first time we're given a chance to keep Shabbat, and some of us fail. Now, why would this particular instance be so critical? This one particular instance, for him to say, how long you refuse to keep my law, statutes, and commandments. I'm gonna give this away, and then I yield the floor. Because on the very next day, the 17th day of the second month, is the same day that the serpent came into the garden and deceived Hawa and got Adam to fall. It was the 17th day of the second month. So it wasn't by coincidence that the tornado led them to the Red Sea on the day it led them to the Red Sea. For them to cross the Red Sea or walk through the dry ground of the Red Sea that day, to be brought to the wilderness of sin on the 15th day of the second month. On the 16th day of the second month is the Shabbat. And what also is this day? It's the same day Noah entered the ark. It's literally the same day Noah entered the ark and the door was shut and then it started raining.
Wow.
Right. So the Most High is very cyclical. He does stuff on very specific days for very specific reasons. So this is why it's like, how long do you refuse? And I can almost see it in the Most High's mind. He's like, dang, the very next day, this is the day Adam fell. This is the day Hawa fell. I mean, this is the day Noah went into the ark. Okay, I got some joy there, and y'all about to fail again. You know what I'm saying?
Don't listen. Y'all just don't listen.
Right. But if I could say it this way, and I'm saying it this way just for visual, it was like a sore spot for the Most High. Like the very next day is the day Adam and Hawa ate the fruit. The very next day, he's like, when can mankind get it right?
Right.
But go ahead.
Right. Cynthia, Jania she logged off. She had something to say. I don't know if she's sharing your screen now.
No, Kelly, but I can text her.
Yeah, because I saw her raise her hand, and it was during while Eliyahu was speaking. So yeah, tell her we were not ignoring her. Let's continue on. Verse 29. Yes. See for that Yahuwah hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white. And the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, this is the thing which Yahuwah commanded. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. So manna was apparently delicious. Verse 33. And Moses said unto Aaron, take a pot and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, before Yahuwah, to be kept for your generations. As Yahuwah commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came into the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. That last verse is Moses, I guess, trying to clear up the confusion, even though it doesn't really help. It doesn't really help. I know it's some kind of measuring thing, but yeah, I don't know.
The omer is what you count for the 50 days unto Shavuot. That's why it became significant here. On the first day, you know where it says on the morrow after the Shabbat shall the priest wave it?
Yes.
From that day, you start counting 50 or 49 days of the omer. And then the 50th day is Shavuot.
So what is an omer?
An omer was like a sheaf. It was like literally when it says it's a 10th part, it was like a tithe, but it was like I don't know the exact. You know how you look in the corn in a wheat field, you see the wheat standing.
Yeah.
An omer would be like a handful of those.
Okay.
And you would give that for the count up to Shavuot. You would take that as your first fruits of grain, because remember it said, you shall not eat bread or parched corn until the self-same day that you've made an offering to Yahuwah your Elohim. You would give that to the priest, and he would wave your grain and bless it and do the barakah and etc. So that's where the omer was.
Okay. So an ephah, is that the whole grain stalk?
Hold on. I don't remember what the ephah is, but I can tell you what it is right quick. It is the dry measure. Yeah.
Okay. So if this is a measuring
The receptacle for measuring or holding the amount.
Okay, there you go. So now this is how much grain you would add to the manna to make bread. Got you. All right. See, I don't know everything. I swear to you, I don't. So are there any questions in chapter 16? Any comments or concerns?
Yes, Jania said that She just wanted to make clarification that when it was said that the Israelites were in bondage and they couldn't keep their sacrifices and so forth, but she just wanted to clarify that when the Israelites went into Egypt, they went into Egypt under Joseph, and at that time they were able to continue to worship their Elohim as commanded, and he taught it to their children and the tribe's children until that Pharaoh passed away and a new Pharaoh came in, or either that Pharaoh was overcome and the new Pharaoh came in, and then things changed and they were put into bondage. She just wanted to make that clarification.
Change. She's absolutely right. And if I understand correctly, that's what Eliyahu meant. It was once that new Pharaoh came in and they began to serve with rigor and they appointed taskmasters over them, then they could not, because at that point they became slaves. Prior to that, they weren't slaves, they were honored guests. So they were allowed to keep their feast days and their Sabbath days and things like that. But once they became slaves, yes, that's what I believe that's what Eliyahu meant when he said when they came into Egypt, as in the hard bondage part of Egypt.
Right, correct, because that's actually when the start of the 400 years is, not when we came in under Joseph.
Came. But Jania was absolutely right.
She was, right. I mean, she is.
Okay, she just wanted you to know that she was getting back on the line. She switched over from her laptop to her phone. So
Okay.
that's why she dropped off.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay.
So chapter 17. And all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of Yahweh, and pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses, and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide ye with me? Wherefore do ye tempt Yahweh? And the people thirsted there for water, and the people murmured against Moses and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried unto Yahweh, saying, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And Yahweh said unto Moses, Go on before the people, and take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod wherewith thou smotest the river. Take in thine hand and go. Behold, I will stand before thee. Notice this wording in verse 6. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Why would I tell you to pay attention to the language right there in that verse?
Because he doesn't tell Moses when he does any of those other things that he's going to stand there before him.
Say it again.
Because the Most High doesn't tell Moses when he tells Moses to do any of those other things when he's about to perform a miracle. He doesn't say, I'm going to stand there before you. When he tells him, okay.
Hey, yes. So this is one of those where it's like the Most High is standing there with Moses to perform this. All before it's just like, Moses, go before me, or go out here and do this. Now it's like the Most High is like, dude, I'm sick of these people. I'm coming down here with you. But another thing, let's jump to 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4.
Isn't this also when Moses does this thing that God doesn't like, and he keeps them from going to the promised land? Isn't this a part of it?
That's not this one. This one he did tell Moses to fight the rock. The second one is Moses fights the rock, and the Most High didn't tell him to.
Okay, all right, right. Okay.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 4. And I want you to see something. There's a connection here. Okay. Let's start at verse 1. So 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, moreover, brethren, I would not have ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea. So right here, we know in Corinthians, to the people in the church of Corinth, who Paul is talking to. He's talking about Israelites. Verse 2, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ.
Hallelujah.
Where Eliyahu?
Oh, I just said hallelujah.
Okay.
I know this is not where you're going, but I said, how many people was with Moses then?
In the wilderness?
Yeah, and that Shaul just made, or Paul just made reference to. How many people was actually with Moses during that time?
Ooh.
1 million, 600, over 600,000 to 1 million.
Million plus people, yeah.
Correct. And Paul said, and all those Israelites was baptized.
Yep.
Every last one of them. Not a soul was, not even the ones who would die in the wilderness was left out of that. But I know that's not why you're going there.
No, that's not where I was going to, but thank you. But thank you. But yes. So in verse 4, he says, and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. This rock, when the Most High said, I will go before you.
Mm-hmm.
This rock that Moses smote to get water from, that was Christ. How is that Christ? Y'all thinking too hard. Y'all know the answer. Was that rock a person? No, it was a rock. What was that rock?
What is a symbol of Christ?
No, not a symbol of Christ. But I know what you mean when you say that, he was the chief cornerstone and the rock. When he talks to Peter, upon this rock, I should build my church. Yes, I get what you're saying, but no, that's not symbolic. That's not what he means right here. Do rocks give off water all the time? No. So there's something special about this rock. The Most High spoke this rock into existence for a reason. For this very reason, when the children of Israel were going to be out here murmuring about water and they needed it, this rock was a special word. That's how it was Christ, because Christ is that. He's not just any word. He is the word of the Most High. He is specifically the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, wrapped in flesh, right? So when he spoke this rock into existence, that's how that rock, that's how Yahusha, that's what he is. He is the absolute embodiment of the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. Those words carry power. Those words carry weight. Those words can do things miraculous that nothing else can do. So when this rock gave water, it wasn't just an ordinary rock. That's what it means, that it was, this rock was the Christ. This rock was Hamashiach. It was that word, that power. That was not any ordinary rock. You understand it? Aliyahu, you wanted to add to it?
Yeah, I wanted to add the words of Yahusha himself.
Okay.
He said, I am the bread that your fathers ate in the wilderness.
Okay.
But what did they eat in the wilderness?
Angel's bread.
They ate, what is it? So,
what is it? Yeah, they ate, what is it?
Manna, they ate manna. But Yahusha said, I am the bread that your fathers ate in the wilderness. So you have him saying, you have Paul saying he was the rock. You have him saying, I am the bread. Well, staying in First Corinthians 10 and 4, right? It said, and the rock was Mashiach, right? Oh man, you had just hold on. It says, verse 6, behold, I will stand before thee. I'm sorry, this is Exodus 17:6. Behold, okay. I will stand before thee. Wait. I will stand before thee there upon the rock. And Paul, Shaul, says that Yahusha is that rock. So who stood before him? Who stood before him?
I see it. I want to give somebody else a chance.
So let me go to verse 5. Let's do it this way. Verse 5. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, go on before the people. Who said this?
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah said unto Moses, go on before the people and take with thee of the elders of Yasharal and thy rod wherewith thou, watch this, smote the river. Right? Take in thy hand and go. Behold, who's the I speaking? The person who's talking to Moses haven't changed.
It's Yahuwah.
Yahuwah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It has not changed. Behold, I will stand before you there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And Paul says that rock was Mashiach. So who stood before Moses?
The Most High and Hamashiach.
Correct.
They
Oh, Yahoo, what happened?
Okay, no, I'm here. I was trying to hear what my Isha was saying. Please God. So he says, behold, I will stand before you. Now, okay. Hallelujah. So Paul said that Yahusha or Mashiach was the rock, right? And in the first part of this, he said that they were all baptized unto Moshe in the what?
Wilderness. All right. In 1 Corinthians 10?
Yes, sir.
In the cloud and in the sea.
So who was present at their baptism?
Yahusha
Mm-hmm.
and Yahuwah.
Right. Oh, right. Cain. And I'm gonna just play around with. Oh,
and an angel apparently.
Say that again.
And an angel. That cloud.
The cloud. Remember when Yahusha was taken up, and it said I think it's this same chapter of Hebrews, isn't? I mean of Corinthians, isn't it? Where it talked about the cloud of witnesses. How a great cloud of witnesses.
Ooh.
Here, let me see. I think it is. Mm-hmm. It is. Oh, that's why.
No, I didn't see it. No.
Hebrews 12.
12 what?
Twelve and 1.
Hebrews 12 and 1.
Yes.
If you already have it, can you read it?
Okay. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us.
Okay. And now, okay. Indirectly, that's referring to exactly what we're reading. about them, about the wilderness of sin. Read it again, Nehemiah, please.
Okay. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us.
That is what was happening in the wilderness. It was sin that was besetting them, or putting a difference between the remnant and the chaff. You know, but my point was, but my I was making 2 points, that all of Yashar was immersed or baptized together that day with Moshe, and who was there?
The Messiah and the Most High.
Cain. Yes, indeed.
And the cloud of witnesses.
Which would be?
That'd be the Malaks.
It would Cain. It would be the Malachim. So or you could say the whole host of Shamaim was there. The whole family in the Shamaim was present. Right. Okay. Or as he says, sometimes came down. He came down. What is it? It's either Philippians or Colossians that says Yahushua is the image of the invisible Elohim.
Is that Colossians? I think that is Colossians.
Correct. I think let's see.
And to that point, even baptism, we have it outside, so the host would witness it.
Colossians 1:15.
1:15, got it. Okay. You want to read it since you got it?
I just looked it up real quick, but I can read it.
Oh, okay.
Passed it.
I'm gonna tell you why I'm going here real quick. Then I yield the floor. If Yahuwah said, "I will stand before you on the rock," and we know that Yahuwah is invisible, who did Moses see? Do we think he saw nothing? Why would the Most High literally stand before him if he's...
That's a good point.
Remember, even Yahusha said before Abraham was, he said, I am, but I'm sorry, not that one. He said, Abraham rejoiced to see my day. And he saw it. So was Abraham the only one to see him before?
No, like that would have to, wow.
Yahuwah himself is invisible to us. Yahusha is the visible image.
That's your key.
Say that again, Cain?
So that's your key.
Cain, that is the key right there. Yahuwah is invisible to us. Yahusha is the visible image of Yahuwah. He's the part of Yahuwah that we can see. So whenever the scripture says Isaiah or Moses or the children of Israel or Abraham saw Yahuwah, who did they really see?
Saw Yahusha.
They saw Yahusha. But what was Yahusha also called? It says they saw Yahuwah, but who did they actually see?
Yeah. Okay.
This was before he came to earth in the flesh.
Do you want Colossians 1:15?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It said, who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature?
Right. He's the image of the invisible Elohim, but at the same time, the firstborn of creation.
Okay.
Or as Shaul says, he's all in all.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, well, yeah. Truth be told, even that Malak who was the pillar of cloud, who was leading us, was him. Like who is Yasharal's leader today?
Right.
Right. So who was our leader back then? Like, yeah, Yahuwah has always been invisible to us. Yahusha has the word, or he who is the word, has always been the visible image of him to us. Always. That's why I said in the beginning was the word, and the word was with Elohim, but then it said, and the word was Elohim. Because where does your word come from? From within you. So are you, and then I yield the floor, are you, or like we used to say, my word is my bond, are you and your word separate?
Shouldn't be.
Can't be. Because if it is, then it's not your word. So if Yahusha said your words come from your heart, where's your heart? It's inside of you. It's inside of you. So your word comes from within you. It's a part of you, but it takes on a different form of you. And at that point, I yield the floor.
Royal priesthood, bro.
What'd you say?
The royal priesthood.
Right.
Dang.
Matter of fact, let's do it this way. Then I yield. He said, you quoted it. He said, my word will not return unto me void. That which I have sent my word to do, it shall do, right? When Yahusha came in the flesh, did he fulfill every single thing Yahuwah ever said? Pertaining to, I'm not talking about prophecy. I'm talking about did he perform that which he was supposed to do and never failed?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Absolutely. Where did we stop? 17 and
17, 20. Oh.
5?
25. Wait, no.
I think it was 8. Was it 8? No,
No, we didn't make it there.
I think it's 5. Was it 5?
6.
It was 6. It was 6.
6. Okay.
Dang, thank you. Thank you. Verse 7. And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted Yahuwah, saying, is Yahuwah among us or not? Now, I know that the Torah portion says that we stop at 7, but we got to go to 16. Yes. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow stand on the top of the hill with the rod of Elohim in my hand. I'm sorry. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. And Yahweh said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Pay attention to something. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nisi, for he said, because Yahweh hath sworn that Yahweh will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Who is Amalek? And if the Most High has been at war with the people from generation to generation, because that's what he said, who are they? You know that Amalek is one of the descendants of Esau, right? I'm gonna give you a hint. I'm gonna give
They
you
were related to Ephraim, right?
not Ephraim.
Was Amalek the grandson of Esau?
Yeah, Amalek came out of Esau. I'm gonna show you who they are. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. This is the last verse that I have. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 9. And it says, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. These are the people who the Most High has been at war with since from generation to generation. How can they fight against the Most High?
Are taking on the identity of the Israelites?
Yes, but that's not the answer. How can they fight against the Most High?
You can't.
Against the chosen people.
By fighting against his people. You're absolutely right, both of you, all three of you. You cannot fight against the Most High. It's impossible. But they fight and war against the Most High through his people. The Most High has been at war with them since the time of Joshua taking them over. That's what the oath was that he swore during the time of Moses. For I will be at war against Amalek from generation to generation. How is the Most High at war with anybody? It's through us. The Most High went to war with Amalek that day through Joshua and the Israelites. He's still at war with them. That's why they pretend to be us. That's why they claim to be who we are. They claim our birthright. That's why they live in our land. Well, I don't even know if you can call it our land anymore because it's been polluted so much. It's no longer ours. They've tore it up. But that's why they did. Because they are constantly at war with the Most High's people, us. That's who that is. Those people who walk around and pretend to be you to tell you, oh, we keep the feast days. We are all from the tribe of Judah. Like, really? None of y'all are from Manasseh or Ephraim or Benjamin or Levi. None of y'all. All of y'all are from Judah. Okay. Even though the scripture says there's only going to be 12,000 is going to make it into the 12,000 of each tribe is going to make it, but you guys is way more than 12,000 of y'all. But all of y'all are the people, right? So this is what the Most High means when he says that he's going to be at war with them from generation to generation.
But the Bible outright tells us outright that they're not the ones. Outright, but they still pretend.
Right here, you just said it. He said that for them which say they are Jews but are not. This is Amalek still. We read about in Revelation 2 and 9. This is Amalek. These are the people that we see that the Most High is at war against. That's them. Okay. I'm done. And let me